Have you been watching top-level football lately and gotten this, I don't know, this nagging feeling that something's a bit off? That the beautiful game, in its hunt for perfection, has ended up feeling a little sterile, maybe a little too predictable? Well, you're not imagining it. There's a very real reason the game feels this way, and we're going to break it all down.
I mean, this quote just nails it, right? The idea that the field, this canvas for genius, has been turned into a spreadsheet. So you have to ask, how on earth did we get here? What turned the game we love into a calculation center where a moment of pure creativity is treated like a bug in the software?
To figure that out, we're going to start with a diagnosis. We're digging into the work of analyst Jamie Hamilton, who came up with the name for this whole phenomenon, and honestly, it perfectly captures that feeling of hitting a wall at full speed.
He calls it crash. It's this idea that modern football has slammed into a cognitive glass ceiling. The system, the way players are coached, has become so over-optimized that they aren't really making creative decisions anymore. Instead, it's like they're just picking from a pre-approved catalog of moves. It's a choose-your-own-adventure book where every single path leads to the same exact ending.
So what's the system that's responsible for this crash? Well, the culprit is the single most dominant philosophy of the last 2 decades: positionism. It's a tactical approach that, in its relentless search for control and efficiency, might have finally outsmarted itself.
Okay, to really get this, think about how your brain works. The Nobel Prize winner Daniel Kahneman talked about 2 systems. You've got System 1, which is fast, automatic, gut-feeling stuff. Then there's System 2, slow, deliberate, effortful. That's where creativity happens. The whole goal of positionism was to make the game so fast that everything happens in System 1. You see situation A, you do action B, no thought needed. And you know what? It worked. But the cost was absolutely massive. It basically killed System 2 on the pitch.
And you can see the shortcut right here. A normal decision goes, you see something, you process your options, and then you act. Positionism tries to just cut out that whole middle step, the processing, the thinking. That's all done on the training ground, weeks in advance. So on match day, all a player does is identify the trigger and execute the programmed response. The decision itself, it's just gone.
This quote from a consultant at Euro 2024 is, wow, it is just devastatingly accurate. Motorized blood vessels. It paints this perfect picture of players who are technically flawless, unbelievably fit, and tactically perfect, until the moment something unexpected happens. The second they face a problem that wasn't in their training software, the whole system can just collapse.
And look, this isn't just a feeling, right? It's not some philosophical debate. You can actually see the impact of this system in the data. The numbers, well, they tell a pretty stark story. Just look at that number. An 18% drop in attempted dribbles in the most creative areas of the pitch in just 7 years. That is a massive nosedive in individual risk-taking. That's a player deciding not to just take someone on and make something happen. The audacity is literally being coached out of the game.
So why is this happening? Well, it's because a new statistical orthodoxy has completely taken over. Analytics, especially expected goals, or XG, have taught everyone that the individual dribble is often a low percentage play. That incredible 30-yard screamer you love, statistically, it's heresy. Instead, all the data points to one thing: the cutback pass from the half space. It's safe, it's efficient, and it's the undisputed king of high XG chances.
Now this right here might be the most shocking statistic of them all. For the first time in modern history, top teams are creating more danger, more expected goals from set pieces than from fast, free-flowing counterattacks. Just let that sink in. The most creative possession-based teams in the world now rely more on a dead ball to score than on fluid open play. That is a gigantic red flag.
And right here, the numbers reveal the core paradox of it all. Using a metric called expected possession value, we see that positionism has the absolute lowest risk of losing the ball. It's incredibly safe. But then, look at the EPV gain. It also has the lowest potential for creating really high-value chances. It is the ultimate low-risk, medium-reward strategy, with a built-in, and now very measurable, creative ceiling.
And here's the really crucial point. This isn't just about football. This is a systemic trap that happens when an entire industry starts to confuse efficiency with true excellence.
Man, this scout's quote just hits the nail on the head. It's the perfect analogy. The modern academy system is basically designed to produce perfect shepherd dogs, players who follow every instruction, maintain the system, and never,
ever step out of line. But in doing that, we've created an environment where the wolves, the unpredictable, game-breaking geniuses, they just can't survive anymore.
And if you think that's just a metaphor, get this. There's a story of a top young prospect who was rejected by a Premier League club because his data showed he held onto the ball for 0.4 seconds longer than the team's model allowed. 0.4 of a second. That is the margin for creativity now. It's not some intangible quality anymore. It's a quantifiable error on a spreadsheet.
And by the way, this isn't just happening in football. We're seeing this exact same pattern play out all over sports. Just look at the NBA and its total obsession with the three-point shot, or Major League Baseball's shift to a home run or strikeout philosophy. Everywhere data optimization takes over, the result is the same. A more efficient, but ultimately a more uniform and less interesting product. So what's the fundamental mistake here, philosophically? Well, as the thinker Edgar Morin would put it, it's treating players like trivial machines, where you put in a specific input and you always get a predictable output. But people aren't like that. We're non-trivial machines. We are complex, we're unpredictable, and we're capable of producing moments of genius that no system could ever program. That is the fundamental flaw in positionism.
Okay, so this brings us to a really critical turning point. We've diagnosed the problem, we've looked at the data. So, what's the way out of this? Well, what if the solution isn't about finding a better, smarter system? What if it's about asking a completely different question?
And that new question takes us from a world of geometry, of fixed positions, rigid shapes and structures, to a world that looks a lot more like biology. A world that's all about connection, relationships, and emergence.
And the difference is just night and day. On one side, you have positionism, which asks, where should players be? It's all about the blueprint, the architecture. But this emerging philosophy, which some call relationism, asks a totally different question. How do players connect? It's not about the blueprint, it's about the living, breathing ecosystem on the pitch.
This new way of thinking zeroes in on the huge part of the game that rigid systems completely ignore. It's estimated that a whopping 75% of interactions on a pitch are basically invisible. It's the subtle eye contact, the tiny shift in body weight, all the little micro-adjustments that happen between players before the ball is even passed. This is the secret language of football.
So really, that's the crossroads football is at right now. Do we keep going down this path of the perfectly calculated machine, optimizing every single action until all the surprise is just gone? Or do we rediscover the game's messy, non-trivial human core and try to build a future based not on fixed positions, but on fluid, unpredictable, and brilliant human connection? The answer to that is going to define the entire next chapter of the beautiful game.